The family of 36-year-old woman at the heart of Komfanoche Hospital missing baby saga hints they will reject plans to compensate them for the loss. There's also business news with Abigail Adumaku entry, sports with George Addo Jr., and then showbiz and international news. Stay tuned.
News at 8 with Israel Live.
Running mate of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, is proposing an amendment to the Bank of Ghana Act to make the governor accountable to Parliament in the discharge of his duties. The former central banker says such an amendment could help insulate the bank from executive manipulation. Addressing a lecture at a visiting professor of economic governance at the Central University College, Dr. Bawumia described as retrogressive the Bank of Ghana directives to save the depreciating cedi, explaining that it would destroy the forex market.
The lecture aimed to, among others, assess measures instituted by the Bank of Ghana to arrest the depreciation of the local currency. The measures include a plethora of controls on foreign currency accounts and transactions. But these, he says, will only undermine the money market.
There's no problem with the repatriation of export proceeds, but there must not be a forced conversion of those proceeds into cedis. These directives are based on what, in my humble opinion, is a rather wrong view. International experience shows that regulations such as those issued by the Bank of Ghana tend to be short-lived in effect, as market participants find ways to circumvent them. Just on Friday, Zambia, which had introduced similar regulations in 2012, decided to abolish them, just on Friday. And once they abolished them, the exchange rate immediately strengthened. And that is instructive for Ghana.
Dr. Bawumia opined that making the central bank governor accountable to Parliament will enhance the confidence of the markets in monetary policy while preserving the independence of the Bank of Ghana.
Currently, the Bank of Ghana Act, when breaches are made, there is nothing happens. As I said, you breach Section 30, and it has just been breached, but nothing happens. There's no follow-through to make sure it's not done again. In addition to increased transparency, the Bank of Ghana Act should be amended to provide for regular reporting, say twice a year, by the governor to Parliament on the fulfillment of his responsibilities under the Act, including especially on the issue of central bank financing of government. The governor could appear before the Parliamentary Subcommittee on Finance, for example, in the same way as the chairman of the Federal Reserve in the United States regularly appears before Congress. So we could essentially give a lot of confidence to the markets if we change the legal framework for fiscal discipline as well as the legal framework for monetary discipline.
The central bank is currently battling to restore the value of the cedi. It had assured its measures to produce results by mid-March 2040. Well, we are not closing the month, and though it claims some amount of stability has been achieved, many still believe the country is still not out of the woods. This, Dr. Bawumia believes, means serious and direct action is needed now and urgently too. Kimini Nyamani Yamano, Joy News, Accra.
And we do intend to bring you the entire lecture on this channel, to stay tuned for that. In other news, the Progressive People's Party has described Ghana's current difficulties as a reflection of a leadership crisis in the Mahama-led administration. According to its national vice chairperson, the PPP remains the most credible political party to bring sustainable development.
She maintains that the Progressive People's Party is committed to ensuring an incorruptible leadership to address what she refers to as the current economic bondage Ghanaians are experiencing.
The crisis we are experiencing under the Mahama administration today reflects a leadership crisis. We want to enlist the support of all religious leaders in this country to join the forces with PPP, to pray to the Almighty God to open the eyes of Ghanaians, the Ghanaian voter, on December 7, 2016, to discern between what is good and what is bad for the total development of our dear country.
she stressed that the NDC and the MPP have disappointed Ghanaians for long, and that the PPP is repositioning itself to compete for power in the 2016 elections so it can rescue Ghanaians from the non-performing governments.
We have systematically distinguished ourselves as a party genuinely committed to engage the Ghanaian electorate with pragmatic and progressive policy alternatives for the effective administration of our dear country.
Mary Ankuma Boache-Boaten said this in a statement to mark the second anniversary of the Progressive People's Party.
Now, it has emerged at the Judgment Debt Commission sitting the existence of a special account at the Bank of Ghana used to settle judgment debt claims. The sole commissioner at Tuesday's sitting had questioned the motive for the creation of such an account he says could send the wrong signals. The Bank of Ghana has, however, denied the existence of the said account despite letters from the Controller and Accountant General confirming this.
Letters from the Controller and Accountant General's Department stated the account numbered 011-306-001-4036 is a special account dedicated to paying judgment debts. According to the letters, payment had actually been ordered from the account to some individuals, but the Deputy Chief Manager at the Bank of Ghana denies this.
When we did our work, we realized that it's a 5-year treasury bond monitoring account, and we don't have any special account for judgment debts, my lord.
So was it a controller that quoted a wrong account, or that gave a wrong nomenclature to the account number?
The document...
No, my lord, I did not get... You see in paragraph... Yes, that's what I'm reading. Yes. Of the attachment, I read, it reads as follows. The debit should be raised against account number 0113006-001-4036 into bracket special account designated for the payment of judgment debt.
The Commission is, however, unconvinced and has asked for more clarity from the Bank of Ghana.
What the Commission has decided they do, that is the bank, is to go back, rectify the situation, and come back and tell the Commission what the situation is as far as that special judgment debt account is concerned. In the meantime, the Controller and Accountant General is also going to be subpoenaed before this Commission to clarify these issues related to this special account.
Meanwhile, the whole Municipal Assembly has denied owing one Andrew Tefuto, who claims he lost some economic trees when his house was demolished to make way for the construction of a road. Though the Assembly admits pulling down the petitioner's house because it was built in the middle of an earmarked road, the Home Municipal Town Planning Officer, Felix Selwame, told the Commission a 4-bedroom house was built to compensate Andrew Tefuto.
According to the minutes, as at the time the demolition was done, there were no such economic trees. There was no evidence of such economic trees. Normally, we don't acquire roads, propose roads, when we propose roads, because when we're doing the proposals, we do it together with the landowners. So we don't acquire land for road opening.
The Assembly insists Andrew Tefuto, an ex-employee of the Lands Commission, is not entitled to the 72,000 Ghana cedis he is demanding.
Members of Parliament led by the second Deputy Minority Chief Whip are demanding the release of statutory funds due the various metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies before the House rises on Friday, March 28. Members expressed their displeasure over the delay in the release of the monies, which became due more than 8 months ago.
Article 242 clearly directs the release of statutory funds and its disbursement to the local government authorities on a timely basis, which monies are required to finance development projects in the assemblies as well as meet other obligations. The funds include the District Assembly's Common Fund, National Health Insurance Fund and GET Fund. But for more than 8 months now, the releases have not been forthcoming. A delay, the MPs say, breaches the Constitution. Second Deputy Minority Whip Ignatius Bafwewa told the House the public is losing confidence in the legislature because it has failed to carry out its oversight function.
herb delivery system in the communities that I visited are just dying out. And it would be unwise on our part for us to be here and not be seen to be doing anything. So, Mr. Speaker, I just need your guidance. I want to plead with you that if it can be possible, we suspend meeting this morning, move into a joint caucus and invite the finance minister to come here and give us a word as to when the releases are going to be done.
With Parliament set to rise on Friday, March 28, both the majority and the minority sides are worried the funds may delay a lot longer, and there were many who wanted to express their displeasure. But the Speaker would not allow.
Honorable, I'm not going to take any, apart from the two leaders, I'm not going to take any other person. Honorable Minority Leader.
He, however, gave the leaders the chance to take the floor.
This matter should concern all of us, in particular because the Constitution and indeed the relevant statutes relating to the establishment of these statutory funds are clearly being breached, and all of us should worry about that. I would plead with my colleague just to hold his horses for a while. Let's get the minister. If we get a minister and he's not able to say anything meaningful, and the Minister of Information is shaking his head as if to signal to me that the minister will not come, if that is what he's telling us, he should say so, and we accordingly advise ourselves.
It will be my opinion to join the Honourable Minority Leader that let's allow the time that was given to us today, and I guess that both of us can withdraw together with some of the leadership, because we've already sent some information to try with us that they should gather quite a lot of information for us to get the clear distinction that was made, just to see whether releases has been done and then payment is the issue, or the releases themselves have not been done and so the issue of payment doesn't arise.
Meanwhile, the formula for the disbursement of the statutory funds for 2014, NHIF, DACF and GET Fund has been laid before the House. It is expected the funds will be released before the House goes on recess.
Still in Parliament, members have called on national security to be extra vigilant at the nation's borders and entry points following the outbreak of the deadly Ebola virus in Guinea. Cases of the virus have also been reported in Liberia.
Chairman of the Health Committee of Parliament, Joseph Yiletre, sounded a caution to the security agencies and outlined some steps needed to avert any disaster.
The Ministry of Health, through the Public Health Division of the Ghana Health Service, monitors and regularly updates the interagency task force on reports from particularly the entry points and border areas. 3. The Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the task force, takes steps to stock the relevant medicines and prepare emergency teams in the event of the outbreak. 4. The task force must initiate measures including public education and awareness creation about Ebola and other diseases.
The ranking member of Parliament, Dr. Richard Anani, called for the involvement of all relevant government agencies in the fight against the Ebola virus, as well as public sensitization.
We may also have to look at it at a regional-wide situation. It has occurred in the West African sub-region. So we may also have to call upon our Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Agriculture, because the veterinary people, the vet surgeons must also be involved in the way this thing is handled. We must also alert our Ministry of Health to collaborate with its colleagues in the sub-region. Therefore, I will, whilst adding my voice to the statement, also want to add that the Ministry of Health may have to call for an emergency WAHO meeting, where at that meeting they may have to find ways and means of stemming the spread of this condition.
In another development, the Deputy Health Minister was also on the floor to answer an urgent question on the increase in supply and distribution of the anti-snake serum from the current average of 10 to rural districts on a quarterly basis.
Still to come in the bulletin, a group calling itself the Concerned Transport Operators Union has objected to plans by some commercial drivers in Kumasi to embark on a demonstration next week. And the absence of security lights at the holding bay at the Senchi ferry landing site is a major source of worry for traders and commuters who rely on the craft to cross the Volta Lake. We'll be back with these. The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Al-Hassan, is cautioning personnel against the use of excessive force in the enforcement of the law. Addressing personnel being readied for UN peacekeeping duties, the IGP urged the officers to aggressively work towards projecting the new image of the force and to also apply the skills they are learning in their local operations. Gifty Andoapia was with them in our reports.
About 160 personnel are currently undergoing the 4-week training by experts from the United Nations and the Center of Excellence for Stability Police Units based in Italy. The training ranges from basic police techniques and tactics including traffic control techniques, tactical progression, public order management, command and staff training, as well as self-defense and firearms training, for which they demonstrated their preparedness. Director of Police Administration, COP Rose Bio Atenga, commended the females especially, encouraging them to do more to ascend in the police hierarchy.
Amongst you are female officers who are performing wonders. That is it. So that when we leave the scene, you can perform better.
The IGP was emphatic about non-violation of human rights in the line of duty, adding the trained personnel should transfer the knowledge to other colleagues to enhance the new image of the police.
We have to apply it also in our own country so that we are able to protect citizens. We are also able to deal with criminals without infringing upon their human rights. These are things we should take seriously to avoid the excessive use of force, especially firearms. Most of us have discharged firearms because we are lost of ideas.
He hinted the Upper West region will have a new police training institute.
Maybe next time we will be doing this not here, but in Poalugu in the Upper East region, where we want to open the public safety training school. But it's something that, a program that will be run every now and then to ensure that not only those of us in the Form Police unit, but in other units also get specialized.
The time and countries the officers will be sent to will be communicated in due course by the United Nations. 140 of the current total of 160 trainees will eventually be sent on the mission. One thing that strikes me is the female representation. These are men and women of the Ghana Police Service getting prepared to be deployed to help restore peace and order. The IGP has warned them against complacency, and he's also looking forward to a time where these extra skills that they get before going on UN trips are inculcated in general policing here in Ghana. Gifty Andoapia, Joy News, Tesano.
Gifty Andoapia, Joy News, Tesano. In other news, a group calling itself the Concerned Transport Operators Union has objected to plans by some commercial drivers in Kumasi to embark on a demonstration next week. The planned demonstration by the Ghana Private Road Transport Union and 2 others is to protest brutalities they say is meted out to them by military officers deployed to their transport terminals by the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. But the Concerned Transport Operators Union say the decision contravenes an earlier joint agreement by the unions. Mahmoud Muhammad Nuruddin reports.
The 3 major transport unions in the Shanti region say they face too many challenges in carrying out their core duties. A typical example, according to the GPRTU, is the revoking of a permit granted by KMA in 2013 to use the front and back spaces of a regional secretariat building as a terminal. The union claims their drivers and hawkers are being arrested at their own premises and processed for court. The Industrial Relations Officer of GPRTU described the presence of military personnel at the various terminals as unfortunate. Reverend Ellis Owusu-Ansah said travelers and drivers are unhappy about the situation.
our place, I mean the frontage of GPRT here, I mean the office, is being manned by a military man. And these scared people, even who comes here to transact business. You have even bank here. They are not here to guide the bank. And I don't know if here is now turned to be a barracks, army barracks. All these are going on. And I'm sure it's maybe it's in the brown side of the authorities concerned, I mean the government. I don't see the reason why that if you go to a place like Konongo, in front of the GPRT offices, we have turned that place as a lorry terminal where we operate the lorries from. If you go to Sunyani, if you go to Ho, and the big question is, why Kumasi alone? Kojo Bonsu, Honorable Kojo Bonsu, wants to turn us away from here.
The three unions, namely GPRTU, Protoa and Cooperative, want the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly to withdraw the military personnel within 7 days, or they will embark on a strike and hit the streets continuously for 5 days in protest. But the concerned transport union and some other unions disagree and describe the GPRTU's decision as baseless.
Demonstration, other union demonstration, and this one demonstration, I don't know woman office and anyone demonstration, but a man will be kind of this walk. No one can imagine so almost stop a car because Sky idea demand GPR before the Kai, an individual for a car in the day.
For the fact, okay, express driver party and Ketia, and so Nadia, Kasa.
They, however, say the three unions can embark on strike and demonstrate if their conditions are not met, but should count them out. Reverend Ellis Osuansa, who speaks for the three unions, is unperturbed by the decision of the other unions to stay out of the protest.
The absence of security lights at the holding bay at the St. Chi ferry landing site is a major source of worry for traders and commuters who rely on the craft to cross the Volta Lake. The patrons of the ferry believe the lack of adequate lighting makes them susceptible to crime. Joy News' Prince Adobo visited the site and has come through with this report.
The St. Chi ferry site began operations on March 17, 2014. Following the closure of the Adome Bridge for rehabilitation, officials say will last 2 years. The closure of the bridge meant that traders who used to operate nearby relocated to St. Chi along with the commuters. The traders were also hopeful they will continue to enjoy the bricks business that comes with nightfall. But this has not been the case, a situation they blame primarily on the lack of lighting at the temporary lorry station here. Some of the commercial drivers also lamented the situation.
When 7 o'clock, they have to close. We stay here, they will break before we go. It's not fine. Formally, that bridge, always you can pass go. So we beg government to help us so that night side you can close. You can pass go.
I'm sure that Hanma is soon if I know from Toe to the riverside, the Hona Mechese, Solana War, 50. Side no could end one no light. A one moon is soon.
I had a soon quantity amount passengers and by a 1 ye. And to be a back cannot be broke. And to say young light was stationed area saying because I assume to do.
The district chief executive Thomas Yakun, however, says the assembly is already taking steps to address the concerns.
The main streets have lights. Our concern is the periphery, on the other sides of the road.
Non-governmental organization Friends of Rivers and Water Bodies is threatening to take legal action against all district assemblies and government agencies that have oversight responsibility in protecting the country's water bodies for negligence of duty. Its president, Nana Jomo Sapong, says he will file a writ of mandamus against governments before the end of the year if steps are not taken to protect what is left of the country's depleting water resources.
According to the NGO, several of the country's water bodies, including River Pra, Ofin and Ankobra, have been polluted and destroyed due to galamsey activities. Nana Jumo Sapon faulted the local government ministry and its agencies, including the town and country planning, for failing to fully implement the laws and regulations in the statute books that seeks to protect the country's water bodies from destruction.
Assemblies, whether metropolitan or district assembly or whatever, they make bylaws to tax the people. But why can't they make bylaws to protect the water, which the government has promised is going to supply the people? The government can build all the dams, but if the water source, the rivers and water bodies are destroyed, how can we get water flowing into the dam for the people to get water to drink?
The NGO says it is currently monitoring pollution and the water supply situation carefully and would have no option but to resort to the courts to get government officials to account to the people.
We are going to ask the court to use the order of mandamus to compel them to work. That is what we will be seeking the court to do. That they should go according to their own laws that they have set, according to the laws establishing the local government. They should go by it.
There are fears Ghana could face water scarcity in the next 10 years if the current rate of destruction of water bodies is not curtailed.
Now, if you go to the act that established the Water Resources Commission, they have the mandate to manage the raw water resources for this country. Nobody has the right to divert, to block, to impinge whatever, any water body without permission from the Water Resources Commission. I believe that none of those galamsey operators there has ever even, I'm sure they don't even know where the office is. And who gave them access to those places? Because now it has assumed bigger dimensions.
The family of the 36-year-old woman whose stillborn went missing at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital has hinted they would refuse any attempt to compensate them if the body of the baby is not found. The spokesperson in an exclusive interview said that whereabouts of the baby or its corpse is paramount to the family. Abdul Rahman Mohammed maintains anything else is secondary. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reports.
Abdul Rahman says the page to compensate the family is not yet opened, adding that the family seeks to know what has happened to the body of the baby if it truly died.
So we are not even on the page of compensation. What we want now is to know the actual account of the baby. That is the final position of the family. The baby was dead, and where is the body? We still would demand for the body. When we see the body, we conduct DNA test, as we've said earlier, to ascertain the truth if it is actually the actual body of the baby.
He says the family would consider legal redress if the final report of the Ministry of Health does not meet their expectations.
Our legal redress is very much assured. We have our legal counsel waiting. He has been advising us on what to do. We gave but for the intervention of the Ministry of Health, we would have been in court by now. So we are waiting for the ministry to come out with the final report as on 15th of April, as they've said. We want it to be very comprehensive for us to know the actual account of the baby. I think there's enough time. It's 20 or 19 days from now. Any proper investigation can be done.
He insists until the family sees a document certified by a medical doctor indicating the cause of the death of the baby, they maintain the baby is alive.
Sueba is very much traumatized upon hearing the news. She is very much break down. She's in agony. She thought the ministry stressing on the point as to their last ultimatum for them to account for the actual accounting of the baby. We thought we were going to know the whereabouts of our baby.
Abdul Rahman Mohammed, however, commended the Ministry of Health for directing the Chief Executive Officer of Komfanochi Teaching Hospital to proceed on leave while investigation continue.
We have business news coming up next with Abigail Adomakoinchi. Stay tuned.
more news on the economy right here with me, Abigail Adomakwenchi. First off, the International Monetary Fund IMF has reiterated the weak fundamentals of the Ghanaian economy and has called for stronger macroeconomic policies. For the IMF, strengthened policy frameworks will help the economy withstand external shocks while ensuring that access to the global capital market is beneficial. IMF made the disclosures at a meeting with the central bank and other players in the capital market, noting that Ghana will continue to pay a higher price of accessing external funds if the economy's fundamentals remain weak.
Once macroeconomic stability is anchored and you have stable inflation, stabilization rate, opening of the market has several advantages. One, of course, it will increase interest in the market, of course, and bringing a net inflow of foreign exchange. Capital inflows, the capital flows have challenges, and as the central bank increases capacity to monitor these flows, as the banking supervision department has the capacity to improve its banking supervision, there is no really drawback.
Sami Jaja also called for a well-capitalized banking industry to resist global financial shocks. But the Bank of Ghana maintains the current macroeconomic instabilities are temporary and will be addressed with time.
The instability that we see is not a permanent situation. There has been efforts and there will continue to be efforts. If you look at the budget for this year, there is a target which government indicates its intent to ensure that that target is achieved. And in the medium term, the fiscal consolidation is expected to be achieved. That is reducing the deficit to around 5 to 6% in the next 2 to 3 years. So conditions will improve, and therefore that will give us a basis to go to the market. So you can't say you will never go to the market because the conditions are bad, but because I think the current conditions are temporary.
The IMF, meanwhile, says it is ready to assist Ghana following the establishment of the office in the country.
Identifying cross-border supervision as one of the key issues that was extremely relevant for all the countries in the region. And Africa West really covers the 6 countries in the region where this is a major issue. We think that there has been a rapid expansion of these Pan-African rules all over the region indeed. And in some cases it may have outpaced the national supervisory capacity of the countries. And one of the cornerstones of our activity, of our program of activities in the region for the years to come, is indeed to address that and try to find the best way to basically improve the supervision capacity in all the countries.
Vice President Kwesi Mr. Arthur has conferred with the Joint Steering Committee of Partnership for Growth. The committee, a partnership between Ghana and the United States of America, is mandated to carry on processes for Ghana to access the second compact of the Millennium Challenge account.
The group was at the Flagstaff House to brief the Vice President on discussions and progress made so far following their first meeting last year. Deputy Chief of Mission at the U.S. Embassy, Patricia Alsap, noted that the partnership will continue in spite of what she calls new challenges.
The situation that we're dealing with has changed. The macroeconomic situation has changed. But we still agree that this is an important partnership, and we're going to continue to work together to achieve our objectives. We realize there are some new challenges, but we believe that working together we can deal with these challenges. And there's some places where we may need to step up the pace, but I do believe that we're all on the same page as to where we're going.
The finance minister and leader of the Ghanaian side of the steering committee, Seth Tekbe, stated that Ghana's fiscal challenges and what is being done to address them have been explained to the U.S. counterpart.
The reference to some of the circumstances changing since the PFG was put in place, it's something which we acknowledge but reminded our counterparts. That is something which we have been addressing in the 2013 and 2014 budget, SME and credit. There were some concerns, and so we clarified, the point that government was in a process of consolidating SME policy to give it better direction.
Vice President Kwesi Bekoe Emisa Asa summed it all up and touched on Ghana's attainment of the Millennium Development Goals.
What we have decided to do is to tackle this thing up front and be able to restore balance this year so that it creates some fiscal space for us to spend some resources especially in infrastructure. We have done quite a bit on the Millennium Development Goals. There's one goal that is being a little more difficult to achieve, and we are trying to find some resources from our constrained budget to tackle that specific area. So I'm happy that you are with us. We have to take certain actions, and we are ready and willing to take them, and we know that you will be supportive when it comes to that.
The second compact will be dedicated to Ghana's struggling energy sector. Kifty Andopia, Joy News, Flagstaff House.
Well, there is some good news for the country's 10 regional administrations, as they are to benefit from a 2.25 million euros assistance from the European Union. The amount will go to strengthening the institutional capacities and administration of the regions.
Speaking at the launch, head of the delegation of the European Union to Ghana, Claude Mathane, said the ultimate objective of the grants will be to enhance the harmonization and monitoring of public policies at the local level. This, he believes, would improve the availability, access and quality of public services to citizens to better their living conditions.
All these are the best means of ensuring that we work towards common objectives that are improving living conditions of the Ghanaians. Decentralization, we all understand, is a means and not an end. There is a general lesson learned that the decentralization process is a means toward better governance and better service delivery at the local level, that accountability, participation and demand for improved service delivery can be best executed, generated at the level closest to the people.
Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Akwesi Oponfosu, noted the grant will assist the regional coordinating councils to procure vehicles, computers, scanners and other logistics to enhance their performance and service delivery.
If you take a regional capital with the office established to monitor, and they don't have the resources in terms of vehicles, in terms of computers, equipment to do this monitoring, then it's just in name. So this support is going into initiatives like that, so that they will have the capacity to monitor the assemblies and what they do in terms of the projects, in terms of the financial management, in terms of compliance with the various statutory regulations.
He added, government acknowledges its current macroeconomic challenges and is making every effort to address these challenges, as outlined in the 2014 budget.
The Upper West Regional Branch of the National Association of Graduate Teachers has given government up to the 30th of April to address their concerns or take full responsibility for any action they will embark on. Addressing journalists at WA in the Upper West Region, NAGRAT Chairman Pius Larry Azuma said government's failure to pay 24 months of salary arrears to some of its members is injustice. And that'll be all for business. My name is Abigail Adumakwenchi. George Adu Jr. comes up next with sports.
Final was making rounds in the world of sports, and Black Stars defender John Pencil could turn single the coming days after his wife Rich Love Pencil filed for separation at an Accra High Court yesterday. Another Ghanaian international football star, John Pencil, is heading for the divorce lane as his wife, Richlove Pencil, has filed for separation at an Accra High Court. However, Pencil, who is at the moment playing for South Africa's Santos, has reportedly refused to sign the divorce papers months after he had been served copies of the document. A source close to Mrs. Pencil has confirmed to Joy Sports that after enduring so much emotional stress and trauma, as well as neglect, Mrs. Pencil feels it's time to move on. At the moment, Pencil has not been remitting his family, and after thinking through, Mrs. Pencil says it's the best option to go their separate ways. But perhaps taking a cue from what has befallen his colleague John Mensah following a divorce ruling, Pencil is hesitant to sign the divorce papers, and the lawyers of Mrs. Pencil have allegedly given him up to the end of the month to sign before considering the next line of action. Recently, an Accra High Court granted divorce for Mrs. Henrietta Mensah against the former Black Stars captain, with the ruling that the properties of the Rock of Gibraltar be sold and proceeds shared between them. This is the latest development in the topsy-turvy relationship of the Pencils after the footballer allegedly assaulted his wife last year. The incident, which ended up at the East Legon police station, was later solved amicably, with Mrs. Pencil describing it as one of those misunderstandings between couples. We can do some boxing now. An IBF international welterweight champion Frederick Lawson extended his career wins to 22 after he handed Mohamed Kayongo a technical knockout in the USA over the weekend. Frederick Lawson improved his 100% career record to 22 fights over the weekend, following a 6th round stoppage of Ugandan-born American Mohamed Kayongo in the United States of America. Lawson lived up to his pre-fight pledge to stop Kayongo, and the Ghanaian dominator threw out in what was his maiden fight in the United States since departing the shores of Accra earlier this year. So dominant was Lawson that the 33-year-old Kayongo gave up after round 5. The boxer, nicknamed Africa Assassin, failed to answer the bell for round 6, giving referee Mark Nelson no other choice than to give the Ghanaian a round 6 technical knockout victory. Frederick, per the result, maintains the push to get into the World Championship reckoning under the tutelage of coach Joseph Awinyoya at their Chicago base. He confirmed his camp is lining up another fight in Chicago to be made public next month. Right now, time to talk about the first Capital Plus Premier League. A number of games played today. Kumasi Asante Kotoko have had their 11-point league actually cut down to 8 now. Accra Hartsville can have some breathing space now. Let's quickly look at the results and what is exactly happening out there. That's rolling on your screens right now. What happened over the weekend? I mean, this Wednesday. Dwarfs beat Amidas Professionals by 4 goals to 0. Adriana Stars beat Kemfata by 1 goal to 0. Accra Hartsville beat Ashgold by 2 goals to 1. New Dubiasi beat Liberty Professionals by 1 goal to 0. Heart of Lions beat Asante Kotoko by 1 goal to 0. Inter Allies beat Bekum Chelsea by 3 goals to 0. So Kumasi Asante Kotoko losing the 6th game of the season, and a lot has changed. We can now look at the table and find out what is happening there. Kumasi Asante Kotoko are still top of the table, but remember that lead has been cut down to 8 points. Accra Hartsville follow next. We have Heart of Lions, Hazakes, Midiama in that particular fashion. So that's exactly what we can do for you there. So the mantra that says that Kumasi Asante Kotoko has already won the league, you just have to hold it a bit. Accra Hartsville have just been given the leeway and they are in it. That'll be all for sports tonight. Israel will join us with some more. You have a good night.
Now, what does your wristband say about you as a person? Why do you wear them in the first place? These are some questions Showbiz has been asking Ghanaians, as it appears there is a craze for wristbands these days.
Wearing of wristband these days has become the latest fashion trend for both males and females. Ask why they wear these bands and you will hear different versions of the stories behind their wearing them.
I just use the bands to flex as a fashion.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long do you intend to keep on flexing with it or putting it on?
For the rest of my life, I'll be using it always.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I will use it every day.
Okay, it's just fashionable. I just love wearing it on. Yeah, that's all. Like, I don't like this watches and other stuff, so I'm okay when I wear just this. It matches with any color. Yeah.
Oh, the bands, I wear them for fashion. Yeah, this one represents my school, so
like a sign of representation, and this one for my church.
Others, however, believe it is spiritual, as it has been anointed from the various churches.
And I bought this because spiritually we think, I think it protects me.
Actually, one is for 2013. That is our year of uncommon favor. And then the other one is 2014. Great grace and great power. That is the theme for Methodist Church at Colegono Circuit. And it symbolizes for great grace, God will give you more grace in 2014.
As for these two bands, one is very spiritual, let's say in church. This is Resurrection Power New Generation Ministry. Okay. Yes, they are very spiritual. It has been prayed over, and it's like the faith you have. Let's say you are very secured when wearing it. Like let's say your church, you go to church, you pray on it so that to keep you safe. Some are very spiritual.
Still curious about why people wear the wristband, we probed further if the wristband really gives us a sense of belonging.
Looking at mine, it gives me a sense of belonging because with a Pesekus, I'm an old student, and then with a car bank, I save with a bank, so at least I wear it just because I have some kind of business I do with them.
Actually, it's a thing from a BFF, a best friend forever, and I think that keeps our hearts linked up, like it keeps the friendship going.
Well, either way, the wristband craze is here to stay for as long as it lasts.
All right, so I will be shortly telling you about the PM Express announcement. In fact, what's coming up on PM Express. But I have this photo that's been making rounds on social media that I'd like to share with you. So just come along with me. Now, it shows an airport official with a civil aviation order. The gentleman is standing on the tarmac and pissing, apparently pissing on the tarmac. Now, this is not good. It's terrible enough to be pissing in public, but to be pissing in public at the airport on the tarmac, that's just too bad. Well, he's lucky his face didn't show. But that's it. On PM Express tonight, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia has cautioned that the government will be forced to go to the International Monetary Fund for a bailout at the end of the year if it fails to take immediate steps to correct the weak economic fundamentals facing the country. Is Ghana's economy a bone-shaker vehicle without shock absorbers, as he put it? Why are we where we are today? And really, where are we as an economy? For answers to these questions and more, Minister of State in charge of Finance and Allied Institutions, Fifi Kwete, and Dr. Theophilus Richardson, a development economist and political scientist, will engage Nanansa Kwao at 9 p.m. on PM Express. Stay tuned and share your thoughts with us. But that's it for Showbiz. Now, a quick run through our top stories before we go. Former Deputy Governor and 2012 MPP running mate Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia proposes amendment to make Central Bank Governor accountable to Parliament. Members of Parliament push for release of statutory funds meant to finance development at metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies. Sole Commissioner on Judgment Debt demands clarification from Central Bank over dedicated account used in settlement of judgment debts. Inspector General of Police cautions officers against use of excessive force in the discharge of their duties, even as the service works to improve its image. And family of 36-year-old woman at the heart of Komfanochi Hospital missing baby saga hints they will reject plans to compensate them for the loss. That'll be all for the bulletin. My name is Israel Line. Thanks for watching. Have a good evening.